This episode of Test Drive is made possible by RateMyEV.com.
In light of Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez joining the Cadillac F1 team, we're taking a look at a Cadillac today. Although not the V model, it is a volume seller in the Cadillac electric lineup, which precisely you could argue that these models are what make the V models and the F1 team possible. This is the 2025 Cadillac OPTIQ Luxury 2. Let's check it out. The 2025 OPTIQ is separated into four main trims: Sport 1, Sport 2, Luxury 1, and Luxury 2. The Sport models and the Luxury models are essentially identical in terms of equipment, they're just cosmetically slightly different. So the Sport 1 and the Luxury 1 has a starting price of about 63,000 Canadian dollars, and the Sport 2 and the Luxury 2 has a starting price of about 67,000 Canadian dollars. You can add options and packages on top of that, but again, it's just visual changes for the most part, like the Onyx package, bigger rims, different seat patterns and seat colors, things like that. Which means for 67,000 Canadian dollars before taxes, you're getting an OPTIQ that's pretty much fully loaded in terms of equipment. And I think that might just be a bargain. Under the hood, although you're not getting a frunk, you are getting a dual motor setup as standard, which means that this OPTIQ is also all-wheel drive as standard. This all-wheel drive system is a front drive first, rear drive second setup, and in total, the motors produce 300 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. If you want to be a little patient and wait for the 2026 model, the OPTIQ will get a new rear motor setup, which means that the power figures will be bumped up to 440 horsepower and 498 pound-feet of torque. As for the battery, this is an 85 kilowatt-hour pack with a rated range of 486 kilometers. The Luxury 2 trim also gets an upgraded onboard charger, which supports up to 19.2 kilowatt. So if you have a compatible charger at home, you can charge this thing from dead to 100 in about 5 hours. DC fast charging is rated for 150 kilowatts, so not the fastest, but also not too bad. For 2025, it still uses a CCS combo unit, but for 2026, it'll be switched to an NACS charging port. Up front, in terms of design, this is the signature Cadillac look for their electric lineup, so vertical LED headlights and a light-up center grille. At night, it also does some pretty cool light-up animations, and I am a fan of that. In terms of the difference between the Sport models and the Luxury models get chrome trim pieces all around the car, whereas the Sport models get them blacked out. Over to the side, the profile very much resembles the XT5 and dimensions too, because they're basically identical in size, with the OPTIQ being a little bit lower. Now, depending on whether if Cadillac continues to make the XT5, this is very much the successor of that. 20-inch rims come standard on the OPTIQ with 21-inch as optional wheels. Up front, you've got McPherson struts, and in the back, it's a multi-link setup. The OPTIQ comes standard with pop-out door handles and keyless entry, and overall the system works great because it has walk-away lock, but it doesn't have a touch sensor on the door handle to lock the car manually if you want to. So you kind of just have to trust the system and walk away and trust that the car locks itself. Or alternatively, you can use the key fob or the app to lock the car. If you're around the car and the door handle hasn't popped open, you can press the door handles into the car and it will pop the door handles out as a manual override, which is pretty nice. Around back, the Cadillac EV design language continues with the split taillights. The taillight actually, when you're charging, will display your current charge like actually a battery gauge, which is pretty cool. Now, opening up the trunk, you do have quite a lot of space, and you can also fold down the rear seats. With the Luxury 2 model, the cargo cover, the privacy cover actually comes standard. There's also more space underneath the trunk floor, which is nice to have when in an electric car. The trunk floor also has a second level setting, so you can lower it a little bit more for some extra cargo space. Inside, this Optic is equipped with black leatherette seats, which Cadillac calls Interlux, and you also have different color options and seat pattern options if you so desire. Unfortunately, there's no leather or Nappa leather options, but regardless, I think the material use in here is pretty good. You've got some knitted materials up here, as well as some wool materials down here near the cubby, of course, on top of the leatherette all around you. Now, overall, I think the cabin feels premium, and there's no sign of any cost cutting, which I think is excellent. In terms of space, at 5'9", I have no issues in terms of legroom, no issues in terms of headroom. There's plenty of space in here. There's also a huge panoramic glass roof. It's fixed, you can't open it, but it's there for openness, which works here for sure. The rear seats, the outside two-passenger also gets heated seats, which is nice. And overall, I think these seats are very comfortable, but to my preference, it's a little too straight. It's a pity that there isn't any recline function for the seat back. Alright, now the front. Oh man, is this a statement piece. 33-inch curved display with 9K resolution. The graphics definitely looks beautiful. The screen is crisp. I like the UI. You've got a little touch area on the left here for your head-up display, your trip meter, things like that. You've got the main cluster in the front, and you've got your infotainment on the right. The user experience is really good, actually, and I think the main reason for that is because the processor is so fast, the screen is so responsive, there's no lag anywhere. I press whatever button, it just displays instantly. It's great. Now, I'm not too sure about the direction of removing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but I must say that GM for the past couple of years has been crushing it on the screen and software department. Great job. I guess my only complaint about the screen is that it's not quite bright enough for during the day because most of the UI is pretty dark to begin with. Aside from the screen, you still have a row of physical control for your climate, as well as rotary dial for your infotainment, including a volume control, which is very, very nice. Now, the Optic doesn't have a start-stop button. What you basically do is you get in the car, you step on the brakes, the car will turn on, and once you're done driving, you put it in park and you leave the car will turn off. If you decide to stay in the car and browse the internet with the infotainment or watch movies with the infotainment when you're stopped and the car doesn't turn off when you're done automatically, there is a button to manually turn off the car to override it, which could come in handy. Overall, the interior of the Luxury 2 Optic is very nice. You've got a 19-speaker AKG sound system, heated, ventilated, memory, lumbar massaging front seats for both the front seats, and then of course you have heated steering wheel, wireless charger, things like that. If you're considering getting the entry-level Luxury 1 or Sport 1, don't be too worried because a lot of these features already come standard, like the AKG sound system, 360 camera, Super Cruise, things like that. Anyway, let's go for a drive. The Optic being a luxury two-row family crossover, the primary goal is to provide a comfortable commuting experience, whether if it's to the office, to the grocery store, or to the park with your kids. And I really think it does deliver here. The ride quality is great, it's comfortable, it's quiet, you feel isolated from the surroundings. It's just nice in here. I must say that this Optic has really exceeded my expectations, especially at this price point. If you're in the market for an electric vehicle and you also want to find one that exceeds your expectation, you should check out our sponsor, RateMyEV.com. It is a great platform to find owner-based reviews for electric vehicles on the market today. You might even be able to get insights from owners that you wouldn't otherwise find from mainstream media. And if you're a current EV owner, I encourage you to leave a review of your EV experience on the platform as well. The Optic also has good safety tech with the entire safety suite coming standard across the board. So things like emergency braking, blind spot warning, 360 camera, etc. all come standard. Super Cruise also comes standard on the Optic and it works great on mapped highways. But again, if you can't activate Super Cruise or you're not on a mapped highway, then you don't have lane centering. The lane keep assist will ping pong you within your lane, but not keep you in the center. Super Cruise system also has automatic lane change, which is a handy tool to use. One thing that I noticed with my experience with this Optic is that the driver attention assist will sometimes beep at me for no reason, depending on what sunglasses I'm wearing, and it's quite annoying. Now, luckily you can turn that feature off, so just scroll through the menus and you can do it that way. Now what about the powertrain? Similar to most other electric vehicles, low to mid-speed acceleration is very potent. If you're coming from a gas vehicle of similar size, family crossover, things like that, you will have no complaints at all in terms of the power levels. Passing power on the highway isn't as strong, but I think it's still very much adequate. This Optic, depending on which mode you're in, will also give you some synthetic engine sounds, things like that, which spice up the experience a little bit more. Now, if you want a more powerful Optic, you can be a little patient and wait for the 2026 model year that will have more power, or you can go directly to the V model. One pedal drive is available if you want to turn that on, but in my opinion, not very necessary because you have a regen paddle on your steering wheel. The paddle feels more like a spring-loaded sort of lever because the more you squeeze it, the more regen braking you'll get. It sort of acts like a secondary brake pedal in my opinion, and I found myself using it quite a bit, so there you go. Lastly, in terms of efficiency, I was able to average about 21 to 22 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers on the highway and about 16 to 18 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers in the city. For reference, temperature this week has been hovering around the 20-25 degree mark, so AC is not very necessary and definitely no heating required. But for those of you guys who live in colder climates, rest assured, heat pump comes standard on all Optics. Overall, at 67,000 Canadian dollars before taxes for essentially a loaded Optic, I think it's a pretty good deal. For context, a top trim Ioniq 5 is about 66 grand, and an all-wheel drive Equinox EV RS with similar equipment costs about the same as this. So why not get the Cadillac? The Optic rides well, it's comfortable, it's got a ton of standard features, and the material honestly feels quite luxurious. I expect to see some customer acquisition here. Good job, Cadillac. Anyway, what do you guys think about this Optic? Do you like it? Would you pick something else? What brand would you pick instead of this if you do like some other brands instead? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.